Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. I'm your teacher Naveed Anjum Naveed with part 3 of pronoun. The type of pronoun we'll be discussing today is relative. But it doesn't mean that it's our cousin. Relative is from relate. And relate also means to describe. And this is what relative pronoun does. It describes nouns. So let's go for the definition. Relative pronouns are used to refer back to nouns in order to identify them or tell us more about them. To identify means to make it clear which person or thing is being talked about. Sometimes they are not necessary for this purpose of clarification. They are simply used to add more information about a previously mentioned noun. This is their basic function. They tell us more about nouns. Take a look at this table. There are two columns. In the left column are the words used as relative pronouns. Who, whose, whom, which and that. Who is subjective case, whose is possessive case, and whom is objective case. Which and that can function as subjective case and objective case both, but they don't have a possessive case. Whose functions as the possessive case of these two pronouns also, which and that. Who is used for persons, but it's never used for things. Which is used for things, but never for persons. That can be used for both. In the right column, there is an important tip that will help us identify relative pronouns. As most of our students understand Urdu, so the tip is actually based on Urdu translation method. If the Urdu translation of your relative pronoun begins with Urdu letter Jeem, like jo, jisne, jinhe, jisko, jiske bare mein, jiske upar, jiske niche, the word is a relative pronoun. If the Urdu translation of these words, because they are also question words, if the Urdu translation of these words begins with Urdu letter Kaf, like kaun, kisne, kise, kisko, kiske bare mein, kiske upar, kiske niche, kiske aage, kiske piche, then these words are not relative pronouns. They are interrogative pronouns. We'll have a separate lesson on interrogative pronouns. That, you must have noticed, is not a question word. That is translated with Urdu wala Kaf. The translation of that sometimes begins with Urdu letter Kaf, but in such situations, it's a conjunction. It's not an interrogative pronoun because that is not a question word. Whenever that translates with Urdu wala Kaf, it's Kaf, he, ke. And in such cases, it's conjunction. And now examples of relative pronouns in sentences. The boy who was carrying a basket is the son of a farmer. This word who in this sentence has been used in place of boy. We know that the boy was carrying a basket, but instead of using this noun boy, we have used word who. Who is a word used in place of a noun, and words used in place of nouns are called pronouns. Now, having been used in place of a noun makes it a pronoun. This sentence contains two clauses. One is in white color and the other one in blue with one word in yellow color. A clause is a part of a sentence with its own SV combination, subject-verb combination, and we've got two such combinations in this sentence. One is the boy is the son of a farmer. Boy is the subject, is linking verb, and the son complement. The second clause is who was carrying a basket. In this clause, who is the subject, carrying verb, and basket, object of verb carrying. Remember that relative pronouns are used in clauses. They form a part of a clause. And within their own clauses, they can be in subjective case, objective case, or possessive case. In this clause, who was carrying a basket, who is in subjective case. because it's the subject of its own clause. The girl whom you met in the street is an awesome speaker. It's a very similar example. The girl is an awesome speaker is one clause. Girl is the subject, is linking verb. An awesome speaker, complement. Whom you met in the street, that's the second clause. In this clause, the word whom, it has been used in place of girl. It's relative pronoun. Now let's see what's the case of whom in this clause. What's the verb? The verb in this clause is met. Who met? You met. So you is the subject. Whom did you meet? The person you met has been represented in this clause by this word whom. So whom is the object of verb met. How did it come in the start despite being object? The reason is that WH words, who, whom, whose, which, what, etc., whatever their role, whatever their function in the sentences is, they come in the start of their clauses. This is their basic characteristic, that these WH words come in the start of their clauses. Whom is, despite the fact that it's upfront in its clause, it has been used in the start of the clause, it's object of verb met, so objective case. Did you see the student whose bag was lost on Monday? Did you see the student? This is one clause. You is the subject, see is the verb, student is the object. Whose bag was lost on Monday is your relative clause. The clauses starting with relative pronouns are also known as relative clauses because they begin with relative pronouns. And because these clauses add more information about nouns, they describe nouns, so their function is similar to the function of adjectives. That's why they're also known as adjective clauses. Remember, every clause starting with a relative pronoun will not be an adjective clause, yet most of them are. In these three examples, all the relative clauses, all the clauses starting with relative pronouns are also adjective clauses because they are describing preceding nouns. They are adding more information about the nouns that have appeared before these clauses. Whose bag was lost on Monday? Now this word whose has been used in place of student, but not student simple. Student apostrophe s. It has been used in place of a noun that must have been in possessive case. Student's bag was lost on Monday. So whose is in possessive case. Who is subjective, whom is objective, and whose is possessive. You must remember that when we were talking about roles of nouns in sentences, we said that nouns in possessive case are noun modifiers. They are always noun modifiers because they add more information about another noun by showing its possession. So possessive case of noun is noun modifier. Same is the case with pronouns because pronouns play the role of nouns, so they have the characteristics of nouns. Whatever the type of the pronoun, even when we are talking about personal pronouns, the possessive case my, your, his, her is noun modifier. Similarly, this possessive case of relative pronoun is also a noun modifier. It's modifying the noun bag by showing its possession. So, because of its function, it can also be called a relative adjective. Whose is a relative pronoun because it has been used in place of a noun in possessive case, and you can also call it a relative adjective because of its function. It's functioning as a noun modifier. It's the choice of the paper setter, the examiner, whichever correct option they make a part of your MCQ. In such sentences, if the possessive case of a relative pronoun has been underlined, out of the 4 options that are given beneath the statement, you can find relative adjective or relative pronoun, but one of the options will be given. The option relative adjective will also be correct in this case if the pronoun is in possessive case, and possessive pronoun also, relative pronoun also, because it's a pronoun and an adjective both. This is the best dress that you can find in the city. This is the best dress, one clause. That you can find in the city, second clause. And that has been used in place of dress. Let's analyze the clause. What's the verb? Find. And who is going to find? You. So find is the verb, you is the subject. What can you find? The dress. But the word dress has not been used in this clause. We have used another word in place of dress, and that word is that. So that is the object of verb find. You can find dress, and for dress we have got word that. So that is in objective case. He made a car which did not start. He subject, made verb, car object. He made a car, that's one clause, which did not start, the second clause. Relative clause, adjective clause, which is the relative pronoun and which is the subject of its clause. Which subject? Start, verb. So which has been used in subjective case in this sentence. The chair on which he is sitting is very expensive. The chair is very expensive is one clause. On which he is sitting, the second clause. You can call it a relative clause or an adjective clause. And which is the relative pronoun in this clause. Let's see which role this word which, this pronoun which plays in its own clause. What's the verb in this clause? Sitting. Who is sitting? He. He is the subject. Sitting is the verb. He is sitting on chair. On is preposition, and chair would be the object of preposition if this sentence were he is, or if this clause were he is sitting on chair. But instead of chair, we have used which in this clause. So which is the object of preposition on. Relative pronouns can also function as objects of prepositions. You must have observed that in some of the examples, the main clause has been split into two parts and the relative clause has been inserted in between. Whereas in some of the examples, the relative clause comes at the end. Why is it so? It's because in some of the sentences, the relative clause modifies the subject of the main clause. In such cases, the relative clause comes in between. The main clause has to be split into two parts and the relative clause is put in between. And in the cases where the relative clause modifies the object of the main clause, it comes at the end. Remember that the placement of the relative clause is very, very important. Why? Because it tends to modify the noun right in front of which it is placed. If you do not place your relative clause in front of the noun it's modifying, or you intend it to modify, the meaning of the sentence may change. Take a look at these examples. The girl who had stolen my pajamas was caught by a policeman. Compare this sentence with the next one. The girl was caught by a policeman who had stolen my pajamas. Now, look at these two sentences carefully, compare them, and try to understand the difference in meaning. You'll notice that in both these sentences, different people are stealing my pajamas. That's what happens when you misplace a relative clause. In the first sentence, it's the girl who is the thief. And in the second sentence, the policeman is stealing my pajamas. It's the same sentence with the relative clause in different positions. This was to demonstrate how the meaning of the sentence may change by misplacing or displacing a relative clause. We have already learnt to identify the role of relative pronouns in their clauses. Whenever a relative pronoun is the object of a verb or that of a preposition within its own clause, it can be omitted. Let's take a look at the examples. The man whom I met at the gate was a lunatic. The man was a lunatic is the main clause. Whom I met at the gate is the relative clause. Let's take a closer look at this relative clause. What's the verb here? Met. Who met? I. Whom did I meet? It's the man. but we are using word home instead of man. So home is the object of verb met. It's in objective case. Home is the object of verb within its own clause. It's very easy to omit this pronoun. The sentence will still remain the same. It will still remain meaningful and even more idiomatic. Compare both these sentences. The man I met at the gate was a lunatic. This one is more common. The native speakers and the people who know how to speak English, they use this second expression more frequently and more commonly. The first one is actually less common. How shall we identify that the clause in the middle of the sentence, sentence number 2, is a relative clause and the relative pronoun has been omitted? Remember the tip that we learnt in the start of this lesson to identify relative pronouns, the tip of Urdu translation. How will you translate the first sentence? The man whom I met at the gate was a lunatic. आदमी जिसे मैं गेट पर मिला दीवाना था. Now translate the second sentence. The man I met at the gate was a lunatic. It's the same translation. आदमी जिसे मैं गेट पर मिला दीवाना था. Remember the words in Urdu starting with Jeem, letter Jeem. So जिसे is still there even in the second sentence. The man I met at the gate was a lunatic. आदमी जिसे मैं गेट पर मिला एक दीवाना था. You are using the translation of relative pronoun in Urdu, even though it has not been mentioned in English, but you are using the counterpart, the Urdu counterpart of the relative pronoun when you are translating the sentence. This could help you identify the clauses as relative clauses, and it can also help you understand that the relative pronoun is missing. Here is another example. The girl about whom they were talking is the manager's daughter. The girl is the manager's daughter is the main clause. About whom they were talking, relative clause. Whom is the relative pronoun, and it's the object of preposition about here within its own clause. Here is another way of saying the same thing. The girl who they were talking about is the manager's daughter. What's the difference here? We have moved the preposition at the end of the relative clause. So this is another way of saying the same thing, but this one is the best way of saying the same thing. The girl they were talking about is the manager's daughter. Now, the relative pronoun has been omitted. The preposition is there, but the relative pronoun has been omitted. How will you translate this sentence? The girl they were talking about is the manager's daughter. लड़की जिसके बारे में वो बात कर रहे थे मैनेजर की बेटी है. Again, an Urdu word starting with harf Jeem, letter Jeem, has been used in the translation, and this is an indication of a relative pronoun's presence. It has been omitted, but it's still there. Meaning-wise, semantically, it's still there. So, whenever a relative pronoun is the object of a verb or that of a preposition within its own clause, it is usually omitted in real-life situations in native speech. But you can understand the sentence. The sentence is still meaningful and very, very comprehensible and more idiomatic. And with a little bit of practice and with a little bit of understanding of the language, you can easily understand these sentences and you can easily identify relative clauses and you can easily tell that the relative pronoun has been omitted. It's possible to use relative pronouns even when the referents are missing. The noun these relative pronouns have been used for are not there. They have not been mentioned in the sentences. Let's take a look at the examples. He did what or whatever he liked. Now, how shall we identify these words what or whatever as relative pronouns? Through Urdu translation. The translation tip is going to help us here as well. He did whatever he liked. उसने किया जो उसके दिल ने चाहा. Look at the translation, how these words are translating. Take a look at the next example. What I like best is a holiday. जो मुझे सबसे पसंद है छुट्टी है. He insulted whoever tried to advise him. उसने बेइज्जती की हर उस बंदे की जिसने उसको नसीहत करने की कोशिश की. Whoever is जिसने. He insulted whoever tried to advise him. You have two options. You can choose whichever suits you. तुम ले सकते हो, मुंतखब कर सकते हो, चुन सकते हो जो तुम्हें अच्छा लगे, जो तुम्हारे लिए मुनासिब हो. Look at the translation, Urdu translation of all these sentences. These WH words, what, whatever, what, whoever, and whichever are translating with Urdu words starting with letter G. And look at these sentences and compare them with the previous examples. The nouns for which these words, for which these WH words have been used are not there. They are missing. These are the clauses or these are the relative pronouns with missing reference. And you cannot call these clauses adjective clauses. They are different. These clauses, as far as their role or function within the whole sentence is concerned, they are different. They cannot be adjective clauses. Why? A noun has to be present to be modified. And things, structures or words which modify nouns can be adjectives or they can be playing the roles of adjectives. When a noun is not there, how can you modify it? These clauses, starting with relative pronouns, when the referent is missing, when the noun for which the relative pronoun has been used is missing, are not adjective clauses. They are noun clauses. In all these four examples, the clauses in colored letters, in colored words are all noun clauses. When we analyze the whole sentence, we'll find that these clauses in colored font are functioning as nouns. They are playing the roles of nouns. We have already learned the roles of nouns in sentences. So let's take up these examples one by one. He is the subject, did is the verb. So if I ask you, he did what? Your answer will be whatever he liked or what he liked. So the what question that we make with using this word, this verb did in the first sentence is answered by this whole part of the sentence, the complete chunk, the complete fragment. Whatever he liked, he did. He did what? Whatever he liked. So whatever he liked, the whole fragment is the object of verb did. This is how it's a noun clause. It's a clause because it's an SV combination. He is the subject, liked is the verb, what or whatever is the object of verb liked. It's a clause. We'll have to call it a clause because of its SV combination, and we'll have to call it a noun clause because it's playing the role of a noun. It's functioning as the object of a verb. And subject of the sentence, object of a verb, object of a preposition. These are the basic rules of nouns. Whatever functions as the subject of a sentence, as the object of a verb, object of a preposition, must be a noun or a noun equivalent. We have said all these things in our earlier lessons. Sentence number 2, look at the whole sentence. What I like best, this is the subject of the sentence, is linking verb, a holiday, complement. And within itself, it's a clause. I is the subject, like is the verb. So what I like best, the whole fragment, this part of the sentence is functioning as the subject of the rest of the sentence. Is the linking verb and a holiday, complement. He insulted whoever tried to advise him. He is the subject. Insulted is the verb. He insulted whom? Whoever tried to advise him. This part of the sentence answers what question when we frame a what question using the verb in the sentence. This was the tip that we learned to identify objects of verbs, if you remember. So he insulted whom? Whoever tried to advise him. So whoever tried to advise him is the object of verb insulted. You have two options. You can choose whichever suits you. You is the subject, choose is the verb. Choose what? Whichever suits you. So whichever suits you is functioning as the object of a verb. Object of a verb is again a role of a noun. So all these clauses in colored font are functioning either as, just one example is actually sentence number 2, it's functioning as the subject, and the remaining 3, they are functioning as the objects of verbs. And these are the basic rules of nouns. So these clauses are noun clauses. So we can sum up that whenever a relative pronoun has been used in a clause or in a sentence where the referent is missing, it will still be a relative pronoun, but the clause will be, it can be a noun clause, but it will not be an adjective clause. It will not be modifying a noun. We need a noun to modify it. And now the question of that versus which or who. We must not use which for persons. We can't use who for things. But whenever we have to make a choice between that and which or that and who, the rules are not very hard and fast. Yet, that should be preferred for restrictive relative clauses, and which and who should be given preference for non-restrictive relative clauses. What's the difference between restrictive and non-restrictive relative clauses? Restrictive relative clauses are used when it's important to make it clear which person or thing is talked about. In non-restrictive relative clauses, the relative clause is not important for identification, it's simply adding more information. Let's have examples. My car that I had bought from Lahore crashed last night. Now this sentence suggests that I have at least 2 or more cars, and the one that I bought from Lahore crashed last night, because that is used for restrictive relative clauses where it's important to make it clear which thing or person is being talked about. Compare this with the second sentence. My car, which I had bought from Lahore, crashed last night. This sentence suggests that I had only one car. I had bought it from Lahore and it crashed last night. Which I had bought from Lahore is not necessary for identification of the noun. It has been used simply to add more information about the noun. Notice the difference between punctuation pattern also. Non-restrictive relative clauses are marked by commas on both sides, in the start and in the end. Her cousin, that's a doctor, has disappeared. Now she has more than one cousin. There could be several. And the one who is a doctor, one of her cousins who is a doctor, has disappeared. And this sentence suggests her cousin who is a doctor has disappeared. We are using who instead of that, and we are using commas on both sides of this relative clause. This sentence suggests that she has only one cousin, and he or she has disappeared. So this is the difference. The rules are not very hard and fast, but if you want to go into the depth and detail, then these are the details. Enough for today. The topic of relative pronoun is also over, and wait for a little more. If you want to attempt the activity, I know you are waiting impatiently for the activities. You are missing them. We'll be having activities very soon. Till then, Allah Hafiz.